So welcome everyone to our weekly AMA. As you all know, today is a day where Eric is featured as our special guest of today. He's gotten his best shirt on and he's grown his mustache beautifully.
Look at it. That's excellent.
And aside from that, of course, LB is here as well. And I am as well. And between the three of us, we're going to try to answer each and every question you have. Now, the way we're going to do this is first we're going to open up with the questions that have already been asked, and a few of them have even already been answered. And the easiest way I thought was to do that was just to read both questions and answer, because it's kind of quick. It will take a few minutes, and then we can move on to the actual questions and the actual AMA answers. Once we're done with that, we'll have a bit of an open chat, and people can just type their question in the chat, and then as soon as we get to it, I will unmute you and you can ask your question. You can choose to either put your video on as well or not, up to you. And if you ask in the chat that I should read your question aloud instead of you asking it yourself, just add that to the question and we'll do that. Lastly, since there are not too many questions, we'll probably have some time left to look into the actual AMA chat and take some questions away from there. Those were actually late for this AMA, but since we don't have a lot, they might still get a podium. So with all of that said, welcome each and every one of you. Eric, would you kindly introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, g'day everyone. So in the chat, I'm the gamer kid Eric. So a little bit about me. So for me, my position, I'm dealing with the marketing. So we would have seen a pretty big spike over the last 48 hours. So that's my main position. Within that, it's also closely in regard for like promotions and with possible partnerships. At the moment, we also have good friends, to say the least, elsewhere. So we'll be using connections to hopefully benefit us, as we're already seeing it slightly come through. So that's my main position. Where I'm from Melbourne at the moment in Australia. And yeah, been here for quite a while now and not looking to get out of here anytime soon.
All right, thank you so much. Then well, all of you still know me and know LB. A short introduction. I'm Nicky, I'm known as Beyondar, and I do this AMA. And there's LB. LB, you want to say something?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm the main dev at the moment. I guess you could say more like the project manager, you could say, I guess, at this time, yeah.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Well, we'll start off with some answered questions. They've actually already been answered by LB. And so I'll read both question and answer. Firstly, Fizzle asks, why does the winery have locked staking and withdrawals while the LPs don't? And then the answer to that is, well, that's just a design choice for algo forks. Would make adding pools a little bit more complex as well to have a lock system there. And it also allows people to distribute across multiple pools easier without having to wait. In theory, you could add that feature in before launch, but we kind of haven't. Correct?
Yeah, and we could also, you know, add a new pool in a new contract. It would have to be developed in a new contract that is locked, but we would need to incentivize that pool somehow, obviously, and so we'd need either, you know, enough wine from the vested DAO funds or something else, some other token. But yeah, we're doing we'll talk about it soon, I guess, but we're doing a new contract pool with Hermes in the next couple of days. So that's like part of the, I guess it's a new pool, new contract, and there'll be an exciting new dual reward system there.
Awesome. Yeah, I bet Eric's going to say something about that. All right.
Yeah, that'll be a good launch.
The second one is from Arshafina. I think that's it. What happens with the funds when we stake at the winery or LP in vineyards? Does the team invest it into other projects so Grape Finance can keep buyback wine and burn grape? The answer is no, we don't invest those funds. They remain yours. The DAO does get 15% of daily grape emissions, which can be used to buy back wine or burn grape when needed. This is fairly straightforward, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Then there's Fizzle again, who says, why do all the LPs all yield wine? Would it be better in terms of sell pressure for grape or grape mim to yield grape? In the long term, once all wine has been minted, what will the LPs yield? This coming from an auto compounding perspective. I prefer auto compounding, but have since moved my LPs from Beefy to the Grape Finance side to prevent the sell pressure on wine. Well, thank you for that, first of all. The answer is grape only gets minted when above pack by the Treasury, and I am not able to mint any either. So if we had LPs that earn grape, then they would earn anything when below pack, which then they wouldn't earn anything when below pack, which then wouldn't incentivize people to be in the Grape Mim LP at all during this time. This is why wine rewards are emitted daily for these LPs, no matter the price of grape. Longer term, though, we will need to transition to a new incentive structure for these LPs, which is why we are building out new platforms that will have their own reward tokens and use cases for these LPs. In regards to the auto compounding, I do believe that while it does add sell pressure, it also increases the overall liquidity in the LPs over time, which is beneficial for the protocol. And I would like to add something personal about the auto compounding. It does add some sell pressure, but we also have an auto compounding pool that adds buy pressure, which is the wine single stake auto compounding in Yield Wolf. If you kind of balance those out, it doesn't add sell pressure at all. But we'll get into that later with some extra strategies. Now, any of you two have anything to add to this?
That was I mean, I wrote those answers there, so I guess that was my answers.
Yeah, you read them. All right. Then we move on to the actual questions. 2 questions and a remark. Firstly, the remark. Lots of questions in general, Grape Chat, that might not make it here. This is true. And we therefore ask everyone in the community to point people to the questions. If they ask a question that you don't know the answer to, or if you feel that a question should be answered publicly, then feel free to point people towards the AMA questions, because then it will be addressed, very certainly. And so keep doing that. If you've seen this AMA, then point people the right way, please. Move on towards the second one, and that's Graziano Garcia, who says, how about partners on other chains like HectorBank or SpiritSwap? I think that should be great, but is it, Eric?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I can start off a little bit. So in regards to other chains, it's already kind of in process. We're already in communication with another cross chain. Can't reveal anything yet, but we're already in coordination for a giveaway confirmed. We're just coordinating slowly. So in regards to cross chain, I can definitely say it's being planned, but there's definitely in the works. But that's from me.
Yeah, and also I mean, we want to partner with good projects no matter what chain they're on. It just is obviously easier for us to do something with both of our tokens, or like a shared pool or something like that, if we're on the same chain, obviously, because when we do cross chain with tokens, then we have to implement some sort of wrapping system or a bridging system for our tokens, or something like that, where we're adding technical difficulty and then liquidity that needs to be on both sides, which then needs to be incentivized as well. So there's technical difficulties to doing cross-chain stuff, that involves the tokens specifically. But as we grow and as because we want to do cross-chain stuff anyway with Grape. So as we grow, we'll move on to other chains and we'll partner with great projects on other chains. Then, but also before, we're getting in touch with many other good projects that are on other chains that we're at least starting to work with, starting to brainstorm some ideas and at least start some giveaways, some cross promotions and things like that initially.
Awesome. Yeah, most definitely. That's great. And yeah, people should all realize that it takes a while for a partnership to form. So things might already be in the works, even before we know what it's exactly going to be. Thank you for that. There's, yeah, I think it's going to be Liu or Liu. I'm not sure, but I'm going to stick with that. Is there more info available on the NFTs mentioned in the roadmap, between brackets, utility, who qualifies, including people staked in other compounders, etc. So,
yeah, well, the NFTs are coming very soon in this next sort of 2-week period. We'll release some art, hopefully in the next couple of days, whenever the artist has them ready. But the initial NFT drop will be a sort of a VIP club membership for Grape and Grape's future. So the first sort of utility will be royalty sharing. There'll be a royalty on all sales, and that will go to the DAO, and then every month that will be distributed across NFT holders. And depending on your rarity, you'll get more. Depending on depending on the rarity, you'll get a boost of that share and whatnot. So that's sort of the first utility that comes up straight away. And then secondly, the NFTs will be part of the game that we're going to do later on in Q2. So we're going to be likely buying some land in the metaverse and building sort of a community there. Maybe a vineyard would be cool to do. And the NFTs will be like the access card to that, so to say. And as well with the game we're going to be building, it will be, I can't release exact details yet, but it will be a sort of vineyard running game, like a vineyard wine running game where it's play to earn, and you can buy upgrades and things like that with the in-game token, and you earn the in-game token, and you can use Grape and Wine to purchase externally as well these items in the game. And there'll be a little tax for transactions in the game, which will then be distributed to NFT holders as well. So the NFTs will be a sort of VIP card for everything that Grape does in the future. And that includes as well onto the launchpad. If we get access to new projects launching with whitelists, the NFT holders will have first privileges on that. And depending on your tier, you'll get, depending on the rarity of the NFT, you'll get different tier allocations and whatnot, depending on how the launchpad and how that project is launching, whether they're doing a sale or they're just doing a staggered whitelist. So it will depend on the exact project that's on the launchpad, but the NFTs will have access to VIP access to everything that Grape does. So and as well, how to get them. The first wine holders that are staking at least one wine in the winery are guaranteed a drop of an NFT. It's going to be random what ones you get. But if there is any, because I still need to calculate exactly how many people are staked in the winery, but there's 1,000 allocated directly for wine stakers. And if there's less than 1,000 stakers in the winery with one wine, a portion of that will go randomly to LPs in Yield Wolf or in our vineyard, manually compounding. And also all LPs and all stakers, no matter what, will have whitelist access to the sale as well, because there'll be about 1,000 that are dropped and then about 2,000 that are for sale. And a portion of that will be as a whitelist, and LPs, stakers in the vineyard and stakers in the winery will have access to that whitelist guaranteed, and also a discount on the sale price. So I'm going to write all this down, put it in a proper document for everybody to see. This is just like the AMA. You're getting the alpha leak here, but yeah, we're going to structure it all out so everybody knows what's going on ahead of time.
That is some beautiful alpha, because I'm quite sure nobody knew all of this yet.
No.
There's one thing that was specifically asked a lot of times. I've even seen it asked a lot of times in the chat as well. You say people in the winery will be eligible for NFTs, but what about people, for example, who single stake wine in on Yield Wolf? Will they have the same benefits, or does it need to be the winery?
Yeah, no, that's included as well.
Right.
Yield Wolf auto compounders in the winery. Yeah, so everyone in the winery, no matter what, if you're in the Yield Wolf or if you're actually on our site in the winery, and staking one wine at least, will get the drop. And then so then if there's any remaining, they'll be dropped randomly to other stakers. But all other stakers will have a whitelist spot and a discount on the sale.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Now, as I said, I first will go towards the questions in the chat. There are a few. Eric, before we do that, do you want to add anything to what was just said?
Yeah, so a little bit towards the NFTs. So one of my close friends who's, well, we've seen him around there from Strong Spartan NFTs. So they're having a cool design where it's a play to earn game. So before we're even launching, we're starting the plans to integrate or to have a benefit of both ends. And because we're both going to have an asset of an NFT, it's going to bring so much more utility to just the project. How we're seeing the project grow from the strength of the community, just as soon as the NFTs go alone, it's going to bring even more utility to it. So it's going to be a bigger incentive. So what we see now, generally, I couldn't see lasting for very long, especially with the work that we can see with the dev doing, everyone else is doing, and especially with how much quicker these NFTs are being brought up just from the community, just wanting it. We've heard it, and that's why it's coming up.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and on that as well with Spartan, we'll be doing some cool stuff with them in the future in the metaverse as well. They'll be doing I actually don't want to mention it just right now. We'll leak that out later.
Awesome. And just to be very clear, those are different NFTs, right? It's two different sets of NFTs, right?
Oh, which ones? The ones dropping for the winery and the sale, or is that what you mentioned? Is that what you?
No, what I mean is that you spoke about NFTs we're handing out for people who stake in the winery, and now Eric spoke about the NFTs with Spartan, and those are different sets of NFTs, right?
Yeah. So a lot more will come out about that. It's still in the talks. So there hasn't been an exact thing said about it. It's just we're all excited. We all believe in the future. We all have a common goal, and we found a way that could very much benefit basically everyone who goes into it. So we're still in the planning phase for that, but it's being quickly brought forward.
All right. Awesome. I see 3 people raising their hands, and I want to say to them that they can just type their question in the chat and we'll get to it. And that said, I'm going to start with this one, this SW. Why are 99% of other tomb forks not implementing the single stake strategy? And more specifically, what are the disadvantages of single staking? Well, it's hard for us to speak for other tomb forks, I would say, or other seniors protocols. But would there be any disadvantages of single staking? Who would like to answer?
Do you mean the single staking for the peg token, where like we've got the
no,
grape?
I think what they mean is the single staking of wine. And there's the single stake strategy. So I just assume that it's about the auto compounding. And of course, the disadvantage then is clear. It sells grape, and it sells all of the grape that's given as reward. And if that is not balanced, then at some point grape is going to crash. And if grape crashes, then we all crash. So that's the disadvantage. But on the other hand, if you balance that out with a buying pressure on grape, you're good. I would assume that answers the question. Let's move on then. Hello team, this is Andy Boy. Andy Boy, I'm gonna go and find you. So yeah, there you go. You're asked to unmute, Andy Boy, and you're welcome to ask your question. That's not Andy Boy. All right, I'll just read it out loud then. Hello team, I want to ask, is there any update about the drop of the NFTs and how will the game look like? Can we have multiple wallets to grab some? I guess the first few questions of those have been answered, but like, can we have multiple wallets to grab some? That's the question that stands.
Well, the NFTs will be dropped to wallets that are staking one wine in the winery. So that's, you could have, I guess, 10 wallets. There's not much we can do to, limit that, but there's 1,000 in total. So if you're staking one wine, like you'll get a drop. But also with the sale, there'll be a whitelist. So you'll need to, we'll whitelist all the addresses that are staking LPs in the vineyards, in auto compounders. So there'll be a limit. Not anyone can just mint a token. There'll be a whitelist, and if there's still space afterwards, there's still some NFTs to mint will open up to the public, but there'll still be a limit of how many you can mint.
All right, thank you for that. We had someone dancing on the camera. I kind of stopped them, but it was fun. Let's have a look there. Will people earn NFT when they reach one wine stake? Will they have to purchase one afterwards, or will it be one-time thing drop? I think that's answered. If we know about when it's to drop, when it's gonna drop. Someone is really wanted to get unmuted, and I'm going to do that right now. Roboco, let's have a look.
Oh, be careful.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe kick this guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's spamming.
Oh yeah, I see. All right, let's just leave that then. Thank you for that. Oh well. I'm gonna, kick him indeed, but I have to make my screen a little bit bigger. Remove. All right, he's out. Let's see.
While we're going on with it, I'll say a bit of the marketing plans that we've taken action on already, and like the rough plans for the next week going forward. So over the last 48 hours, you would have seen that a lot of the action we've been having. So we've reached out to a lot of Twitter people. We've had a lot of people reach out to us. We've had a lot of love for our community. So we've been really going hard on the promotion side. On saying that, you can see the Twitter growth alone. I think we've grown almost, LB, I think it's 700 followers, was it, in what, like 24 hours? Which is
It's like 4,800 now. It's pretty good. I think we're like 42 not that long ago.
Yeah, it's grown phenomenally. So everything's going well, and just how the support is in the chats, it makes it a lot easier because people see it. We get reached out to, makes it a lot easier, shows the love. And with that, we can already see the genuine support we're getting. So we are taking a good approach to that. We have a lot of plans. It's already been hinted at that we got the pool coming. We got some good promotions plans for that. So it's a very good thing for both partnerships on that side. So very much look forward to that. Ongoing that, we've got a lot of videos coming out. Currently, we're linking with a few back and forth. So it's going quite strong. So the marketing side, it's getting just stronger by the days. We're growing with the interest. So we used to go to 2, 3. We've already seen this nearly doubled already. So as a small team, we're still managing to keep up, and we can set up the price already. We found a low, and look where we are now.
Awesome. I've gone through all of the chat and there's nothing more there. So I'm going to move towards the questions that are said in the AMA channel. Starting with Jarrell. Anyway, this says, hi, I have questions. Sorry for being late. I've experienced with many toon forks, some have failed not due to the team or community, but due to the competitive nature of the space. Code has been rushed. For example, Spectre Finance code was rushed and not tested efficiently and thus failed and funds lost. What steps are you taking to ensure robust testing environment in a demanding, innovative space? Because that's you, LB.
Yeah, well, I guess you could say an experienced developer. I've been a developer for about 10 years, full stack, various languages, Solidity and TypeScript React for a little while as well, which is what we're using here. The Solidity side, which is the smart contract side, obviously we've been audited. Our contracts came back pretty clean on that audit. So no issues there. In terms of how we're going to develop going forward, obviously, this space is very new, and there's possible for bugs that come out of nowhere. The technology is moving very rapidly, but we do everything we can to make sure that when we launch something, we have thoroughly tested it on test nets and on production nets, because there are on the main net. Because there are sometimes differences on, especially on the data that you can get on integrations from other platforms that you may need to interact with during on other smart contract platforms. Say like an exchange, it's going to be difficult to do on a test net because you're probably going to have to deploy it yourself. Whereas on the mainnet, you can actually use the live exchange for data and whatnot. So yeah, we do test everything very thoroughly. That's why things do take time. But as well, we also get everything audited. We have everything audited, and everything that we do develop in the future will be audited as well. I think with Spectre, they had an issue, not necessarily with the code. The code was fine. It was to do with them renouncing ownership too early, or transferring ownership to a contract, to the treasury contract or something like that. They followed the steps not correctly, and they got stuck, is what happened basically. So the code was actually all right. I think it was more to do with the operator being changed, which then means that you are unable to do anything with the contracts, which then means you're stuck. So there's problems like that sometimes. But we have an experienced team as well of developers, and we take security and Solidity very seriously in terms of the bugs and whatnot. So that's obviously something that we focus on directly.
Awesome. And now Gerlaxel actually asked to be unmuted, and they are. So Gerlaxel, if you want to add to your question.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki, and thanks, Grape, as well for hosting the AMA and going through all of this. Right?
Thanks for joining.
It's good. It's good to have these AMAs and actually talk to the dev team.
Yeah.
Stuff. So I'm really interested in the testing side, and so thanks for kind of going over that. I think one of the things is my concern here is it's kind of a double-edged sword at the moment, the Tomb Fork space, where there's so much innovation and there's so many of them that each kind of fork is trying to self-compete with itself and with all the other forks. So to have a protocol that's sustainable, it's all really about balancing the innovation as well as not rushing any code through to really kind of screw ourselves, right, and floor a bug and things like that. So it's good that you're kind of thinking of that. I guess one of the things that I'd maybe ask is, do you have like a community where you talk to other devs from other Tomb Forks to kind of pull together any kind of things that you spotted, issues that you found, etc.? Because we can almost learn off of other forks such as Spectre Finance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess being in this space, you are get in contact with a lot of other devs and a lot of other projects pretty easily. It just happens. So I'm in quite a few other Discords specific to Tomb Forks with a lot of other developers. Plus, also, we talk regularly with other developers on other projects. Like for example, with Hermes, obviously we're doing a partnership with them, so we're talking very closely with the developer there, who's actually a really good developer, very knowledgeable, and works fast as well, but very good code. So it's good to obviously network with other developers and see what went wrong, I guess, in some places, and how we can improve, and how we can all, I guess, help each other make a better space in general.
Awesome. Does that answer your question, Gerlaxel?
Yeah, that was brilliant. Thank you. I do have another one, but I'm happy to ask it unless you wanted to move on to someone else.
I think we've got time, I guess.
Yeah, we do,
Cool.
actually. We still have 25 minutes or so go, man.
Okay, brilliant. So it's just more around the tokenomics and things.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess one of my other concerns, which is similar sort of concerns on the nodes, but also for the Tomb Forks, is we're using Tomb as the granddaddy, the grandfather, the one that everyone's looking at in terms of how it's playing out. And this kind of happened to the Ohm forks, right? The rebase token forks. So one of the things that I'm really interested in and very cautious in is around the sustainability over a period of longer period of time, right? So as you kind of get, essentially compound interest works where it's exponential, right? So if we take a look at some of the maths on some of these Tomb Forks, everyone's going to be very, very rich on paper in kind of like an 8 to 10 to 12 months time, right? So when you get to that point of time, naturally what happens with greed is an outflight, right? So all the money suddenly strips out. So we saw this with obviously the rebase tokens. Obviously the tokenomics are different there, and they were kind of flawed, inflation, dilution and stuff. But we haven't really seen it yet with the Tomb Forks because they haven't really been around for kind of long enough. Although we have seen some kind of large wows in Tomb, etc. How do we kind of, I guess, front run some of these tokenomics to make it sustainable? Or is it kind of essentially we're all in this in a trial phase of innovation and we just have to see how it goes, right? Like, are you kind of watching how other folks are doing? And kind of then, because essentially we're kind of in a good place with Winery and Grape Finance, is that you're early enough, but you're late enough to then learn from some of the other protocols. Bad happens, right?
Yeah, well, I think one thing that I did on the design of this is obviously peg to MIM, but also cut down the emissions schedule from the standard Tomb. because part of the issue is the inflation when you're above peg. If it's too high, well then that's extra sell pressure every day in rewards that adds to the market cap of that peg coin. And if that market cap is say 5 mil, 10 mil, but your TVL is only 5 mil, 10 mil, then it's extremely overvalued, and that will drop rapidly. So the inflation schedule has to be managed tightly. We can adjust the inflation schedule, but I did in the beginning tweak it substantially off the standard Tomb model. I guess with Tomb itself, it's a little bit different because they have a billionaire. He can sort of just kind of come in and help it when he needs, and get his hedge funds involved when he needs. But with us, we're sort of obviously small, so we need to so I've cut down the emissions so that there's still a reasonable return. You get about 2-3% a day in the winery, which is still pretty decent, a month after launch, but it's not too much to the point where you're getting an extra $100,000, $200,000 a day in new grape, which is going to add extreme sell pressure and add to the market cap rapidly to the point where in a week you've added 1.4 mil to the market cap, which is just extremely unsustainable. So that's something that we did initially, but obviously what we're going to be doing going forward is sort of branching out from the Tomb Fork space, which is, it's high APRs are great and all, but they're not very sustainable long term, as you saw in pretty much every other, nodes, Ohm Forks, even Tomb Forks. You have high inflation, you've got high APRs. It can't last forever. It's just not possible because, as you said, people will see the returns and they'll sell. And then, it's a cascading effect. But that's what we're going to be doing by adding, lending and borrowing and branching out to more of a sustainable model for DeFi, which is, as I said, lending and borrowing, something that people use, years from now regularly, something that is, won't give you 2-3% a day return in terms of that reward token, but it will allow you to use grape and wine as collateral, and it will giving some sort of use case to it as well, other than just selling. And lending and borrowing is something that everybody needs at all times, no matter what. 50 years ago, 50 years from now, it's something that people will always need. So that's more of a sustainable model that we're going to be going towards, to sort of branch out just from being, a standard Tomb Fork, so to say, to add some sustainability.
Yeah, and that actually means that for the people who are a bit newer to this space, that would mean that wine and grape have value as collateral, and that means that you don't want to sell it because you can lend up to your collateral, and therefore you can loan, up to your collateral, and therefore you want to keep your collateral, so your wine and grape, and therefore it will probably not be a huge sell-off as you predicted.
Yeah, because right now, you look at the peg coin, the kind of the whole point of it is to sell it, really. Like, that's the yield you get. Obviously that's not good for the protocol if everybody just sells everything, so that's why we focus on the strategies to educate people that you take little profits every now and then, you get fantastic returns, and you keep it lasting longer for everybody. But then we'll add the lending and borrowing to actually have some sort of use case other than just selling, so that you can borrow against your earned grape and wine to then you want to go buy something else completely unrelated. You don't need to sell, you can just borrow against it. That's kind of the beauty of it. And then as well, you don't have to pay capital gains on it.
Yeah, that's that. All right, I'm going to move on to a question that has been asked in the chat by Andy Boy, and it says, we know how many people have staked over one wine. And when is the drop going to happen? Do you have planned any date?
No exact date yet. It will be in the next 2 weeks. We're going to release the NFT art, so to say, in the next week. Probably something in the next few days, at least one of them. And then in the next 2 weeks, there'll be a date, probably in the next 2 weeks, of the actual drop date. And then the sale will come very shortly after that.
All right, thank you. There's a question that was asked in the YouTube, and Dave actually repeated it. It comes from Sandy Ravage, and they say, where does the grape come from when you redeem bonds?
Yeah, so the treasury is the only minter of grape. So is the treasury contract, I mean. So the treasury will mint grape to, when above peg again, to pay back the debt in bonds. And then, so usually when you're above peg, the treasury mints grape and gives it to the boardroom, I mean the winery stakers. But when there's bonds that have been minted, so to say, people have traded in their grape for bonds under peg, then the treasury will mint grape to pay off those bonds when above peg, and there will be no peg token minted for the winery until that debt is paid back, essentially, until there's enough grape to pay back that bond debt. The winery won't be minting or won't be printing, so to say. And then once all the bonds are paid back, the winery starts printing rewards for stakers again. So essentially, I guess the answer is the treasury contract mints grape when above envelope, when above peg only.
Yeah, but that's a beautiful explanation, because I can imagine that to be unclear for a lot of people. So the bonds get right of way, so to speak. They are served first.
We're going to pay back that debt. Yeah.
Yeah, first pay back to that, and then we're going to mint again. All right, awesome. Then there's a question from Saint. He says, thoughts on getting involved with a charity of sorts? And I don't have one in mind, but giveaway burning could maybe be used towards donations. Always decent PR and could attract unique investors. That would, however, put some sell pressure there.
Well, we could, it doesn't have to be grape, so to say. It could just be, a donation. But yeah, look, this is something that I've looked into as well. It's kind of limited on Avalanche, though, how many charities accept AVAX or have an AVAX C chain. They may have an AVAX X chain. Obviously, we can bridge to, usually they accept Ethereum. But yeah, that's something that we should do, and something that I'm looking at as well.
Cool. Really nice. Now, Graziano Cartia asks, what is the theme of the NFTs?
Okay, so yeah, this first NFT series, so to say, we may do more NFTs probably closer to the game that may be more related to the game. But this first series of NFTs are going to be as I mentioned before, the VIP card, the Founders Edition for Grape and Grape's future. So they will have more benefits for not just directly related to the game, as I mentioned. But this will be simple wine vessel. So we're going to have several tiers. There'll be I guess the top tier is going to be a goblet. And then there'll be, the lowest tier will be I don't know if you guys know, but it'll be a goon sack of wine. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like Australian. It's like
There's no way.
Casket of wine, you could say.
I think you need to explain some Australian culture here. Maybe Eric, you can do that because you're laughing.
What's
so
the
much.
actual word?
Oh, it's just a very traditional thing in Australia, to say the least.
It's like cheap wine, basically. It's
Yeah.
cheap wine in a bag.
Right. Yeah, I've seen
It's
those
just
in
that
France
it's
as
like
well.
a pixelated version of that, and then the top tier is obviously a jeweled goblet. Yeah, so that's the first sort of founders NFT edition.
Awesome.
I
Thank
want
you
one
so
of the
much for that.
Goonsack ones.
Don't drink it all at once. You'll get a headache.
I'll be one of the biggest holders of the Goonsacks.
Well, anyway.
I don't want the others.
So Sam 21 says he's not able to attend. Well, sorry to hear that, Sam. You're always welcome, you know that. How does increase in TVL benefit the current holders other than the obvious price increase of wine? Would love some insight. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I guess overall increasing of the TVL helps the overall stability of the platform. If you have, I guess, people coming in with big buys, big sells with low liquidity, that's going to cause drastic market changes, 5-10% at it in one order, which is, something that you kind of want to avoid long term. You want a stable platform that sort of is stable in price, and to do that, really, you want a higher TVL to increase the liquidity in those pools, which then means that a large sell, a large buy doesn't drastically affect the price, and then therefore negatively or affect the LPs and the stakers and their value of their coins. So I guess that's kind of like the main benefit is the stability it brings. And it also looks good, it looks good for other investors to see, well, okay, this is like a platform that people trust, they've put, several $1 million in here. They obviously it's not a scam, obviously that, it's a trustworthy platform that's, relatively stable. So that's adds to that as well.
Yeah, so essentially there are multiple things to it. Firstly, as you say, people trust it, trust the high numbers, like there are many people. And secondly, if the TVL grows, then a buy or sell of 10K will not do so much. And that's good. Awesome. Then I have one more, and that is, I'm not sure if this is a question, but it's something that we can talk about. Saint says, seen some questions in general chat about grape approaching PAG and wine dropping together with it. Well, this is obviously about the recent drop-off we've had. We're already back going up, but it's still good to talk about it, I guess. It's true that if grape drops, then there's a good reason for wine to drop as well, because essentially it's grape that gives wine its reason for being. I mean, if grape is not being printed by wine, then there's less of a reason to hold wine. So it's very logical that one would follow the other. And therefore, we do our best to tell everyone to not sell all of their grapes. Does any one of you guys have anything to add?
Well, I guess I try to focus on more the tech and the development side of things rather than the price, so to say, just because that's varies so often day to day. And I think if we focus on the future of future of grape, bringing utility to it, it will create stability long term anyway. But I actually feel more comfortable in the $2 range, maybe $3 range, because of the market cap of grape. If the market cap of grape is say over $1 million or a couple million, it's kind of it's not sustainable, as I was talking about before, because you get a certain new amount of grape every day, and that's adding to the market cap, and that's growing and growing and growing. If you need to obviously, I mean, it needs to be worth that to sustain that. So that's why, you know, it's better to be relatively like above peg, but closer to it like we are now, as well. For LPs in the Grape Min pool, it's probably a good time to enter now, because your chance of impermanent loss is less, because we are closer to peg. So it's a good time to enter the Grape Min when closer to peg like now. And it's also better to be, above peg, but still close, like not, 5-6 times above, I think, because it's the market cap's too high. It's going to grow too fast, too quick, and it's not going to be sustainable. So we want to be sustainable. We want sustainable growth. We want long-term growth, not an insane pump, which then always leads to a crazy sell-off. Because if the price increases 300% in a couple of days, well, then people are going to be selling to take profits, which is understandable, but that means that's going to bring the price down rapidly again. So we want to avoid that. We want long-term sustainable growth is the goal.
Yeah, exactly. And about that, grape was falling a bit and wine was falling a bit, and people have turned wise since then. And grape has shown quite a move upwards as well, once again. And this is good because with the current rate we're going, grape will probably get towards 2 TWAP, I think. Well, maybe in about a month or so. We could, of course, go a lot faster if everyone sells, but it would be nice if we continue this course, and therefore grape, would be nice if it goes up a bit again.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why we're bringing out we've already brought out the strategies, and you just released the first educational series, which is really good. It's on our website now in the help tab, and also obviously on our YouTube and in our docs as well, so that just helps people. Because I think obviously if everybody's on the same page, we all understand the same strategy, we essentially all work together to take profits, but sensible profits.
Yeah.
And because of that, because we're taking sensible profits, then we can keep it going over a longer term and essentially make more money over a longer term, rather than people that come in just sell it all in one sale, which is not healthy for the protocol. But I've seen this week that we've actually flushed out a lot of larger whales that just came in for the first couple of weeks to basically farm and take the profits, take 100% of the profits and leave and move on to the next project with higher yields. And so that's good that these people have left, you know what I mean? Because they're not, they don't play by the benefits of the protocol in general. So it's good that we have we're left with a tighter community that actually is all on the same page.
Yeah, I usually call those people, or at least those tactics, I call them locust swarm investment tactics.
Yeah.
You're moving on and you're eating everything, and then leaving again like parasites. Yeah. It's a bit sad we have those people, but they are always there. And it's good that we have a solid community right now who's really in for the long run. Very happy about that. It's also good that you mentioned the YouTube channel. We are uploading these AMAs to that channel, and of course all of the educational videos will be on that channel as playlists. And the next educational video coming up will also include an explanation of how we can actually all make money. Instead of just a few people making money at the expense of others. And I think for new people, that will be very, very helpful, because that knowledge should, make them feel more secure. That all said, we have about 5 minutes left in the AMA. I would love to give the podium to Eric to see if you want to say something at the end of this all. And, you know, since you are the featured one today.
Yeah, definitely. So main feature of myself, like I said, is marketing. So I'll talk statistics wise. We took a massive approach over the last 12 hours, actually getting it planned forward. The main reason it's been brought up so quickly is just dealing with a lot of partnerships in the making, to say the least, without hinting too much to come. There's a lot that's happened behind the scenes that's to be excited for. There's one to hint that we already know that's coming is the NFTs. That was meant to come in Q2, and we've already know we're going to get a teaser in a few days about that. So that's another thing to be excited for, especially for the marketing side and the giveaways. Look at how the giveaways are going. Everyone's starting to benefit. It's engaging the community. We've had a few messages from other people asking if they can use the idea, even though of course they can. Everyone should use it. Everyone engages. It goes towards the benefit. We're burning weekly, which comes from the community. So it only just grows. And as we grow, it will be more to burn. It'll be more to give back. It will continue to go. And because how our growth is going, we have the MVPs. Just to say the least, the two amazing random community members.
Yeah, MVGs actually, most valuable grapes.
But it's just amazing just to see just community members seeing the opportunity to be able to help. As we're a small team, it's been mentioned many times, we're a core team of 5 people, sorry. So it is very small, and having community members engaging, especially with new people, with how quickly we're growing, just always in chats. Brock is a good example. That 2 MVGs, another good example. Everyone's doing their part. Everyone's helping out, and that's just building community, and it's just showing, especially for today. So we'll just keep it going. We'll continue what we're doing. It's just going to ramp up from here, and we just need to stay strong through it. We just can't get affected by the whales, because if you have a look at the sell pressures, there's none. It's just the whales. And then as a whale drops, there's many other, we're all waiting to pick it up. I was the example for that. As soon as I seen 340, I couldn't just, my binding accounts locked me out. It was a headache. But it's just a good example. We're seeing the opportunities, what's coming, and it's just a great time for us.
Awesome. Well, I don't think anyone could have ended this AMA more beautifully than you've just done.
It's the mustache.
So with that, it's the mustache and it's your beautiful hair like this, and your shirt, of course. Don't forget your shirt.
Beautiful shirt today.
So LB, do you want to add anything to this, or shall we leave it at this?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll just say, it's yeah, I guess I'll just say things are going really well. We're steady growth, long-term steady growth, which is great. And the community has been super supportive, which is absolutely fantastic. The team is well on top of things, and we all know our roles, and we're all sort of, focusing heavily on those roles and getting things done well ahead of time, which is great. And the community is well behind it as well, which is fantastic. Even when, we have a couple whales do, repeated dumps, we have, as Eric just mentioned, a team of supportive community that just eat it up and see the long-term value here. And so they, this is the people that we want in the community. So, just say thanks to all the team for their work so far this week and in the weeks before. There's going to be a lot of work coming up, so get ready for it. But I know you guys can handle it, and I'm really pleased with the community as well, and how they're give us excellent feedback, excellent suggestions, and that as well. And also, I just mentioned that we'll be bringing out some merchandise very soon. In the next going to release just a simple store, Shopify store with just some simple merch to begin with. That's will have available for purchase. Obviously, that will go to the DAO fund, but also for giveaways and whatnot. Oh, and another thing, we'll be doing the first investment of the DAO voting likely this weekend. I've got a list of 4 different investments, from safe to kind of more risky, that will put the vote on where the first external funds, the first external investment for the DAO, because the DAO is obviously already invested in, Grape in all the pools. So, but we want to, invest in other protocols as well to generate some revenue. So yeah, that's I guess that's it. So thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. And yeah.
Most definitely. Eric?
Yeah, no, that's a perfect way to end it on that. I can't top it.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say, of course, that there's a thank you, as you said, a thank you to the team. Well, thanks for that, but also a thank you to all of the mods, all of the community members, the OGs, and the most valuable grapes, and essentially everyone who is explaining things to newer people, because we need that. We need to, people to pay it forward, to be nice to one another, and to explain things to one another, to show them links and all that. So thank you for doing all that, and thank you for being here. And with that, we'll end this. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
These.